So this is Brent Wayne Scott with Kentucky Sports Radio, and I am honored to be joined by Chris Matthews, who played wide receiver at Kentucky for 2 years. And in the 2010 season, he actually had 61 receptions, 925 yards, and 9 touchdowns, which are all in the top 10 for single season marks in UK history. So, Chris, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be on, and I haven't heard those stats in a long time, so it feels good to hear it.
Listen, over at UK, we're needing them. Do you think you can suit back up or anything like that?
I got some on the way. I know that.
That's right. That's right. So, starting off with UK, you had a really special 2010 season. 2009 was pretty solid as well. But what is your favorite memory and moment from your playing days at UK?
My favorite memory, I want to say, was going into that 2010 year, starting off with training camp. It was a time where I had to grow up fast. As you previously stated that I was only spent 2 years at Kentucky, so I didn't have much time to really figure out what's going on and how to maneuver between positions and stuff like that, and with the different coaching staffs and stuff like that. So it was more of like just trying to get on board, and that's where I give my boy Randall his praise, because he helped push me along. When I first got there, Coach Joker was our receiver coach at the time. He had said something of along the lines of like Randall's, this is going to be your big little brother. And I'm like, all right, I get it. And so we just gelled together. He taught me some things, I taught him some things, and we just found a mesh that helped bring that team together as one nucleus, and it was just very special for me.
Yeah, so you talk about Randall. What exactly did he do that was so instrumental in your growth into that offseason?
Just being there, really challenging each other. I remember we had a conversation with I want to say it was Chad Johnson. It was like the end of the end of my first year, the 29 season, and I think it was Chad that we talked to, and he was just saying that you need to challenge each other. No, I'm sorry, not Chad. It was Stevie Johnson. He would tell us like, you guys got to challenge each other, push each other, and that was something that we both looked at each other like, I'm game. You're a competitor, I'm a competitor. Let's do it. And so we started off with just I think the first time was who's going to have the first drop of today's practice, and then it went from, instead of that day, it went for the whole week to the whole month to the rest of the season of who's going to have the fewest drops, and that was something that really pushed me and kept us all going. I remember going to the cat after the cat center with tutoring, we would go back to the facility and we would just go in there and catch jugs. We either catch footballs or tennis balls, just make sure our hand-eye coordination was there. And, that's also a testament to T. Martin, who helped us understand that we needed to work on our game as well, instead of just playing it.
Well, you mentioned catching all those different things, and we're going to get into your time in Seattle later. But did you ever catch fish? Like they always do on Sunday Night Football. They always
I
Fitzgerald's
actually, I
catching
actually
fish.
did do it once. I should have captured it, but this is like right at the beginning peak of Instagram, so it wasn't like it was just super popular to be recording stuff and putting it on the ground.
Yeah. So you
But I
mentioned.
did catch one though, for sure.
Okay, sweet. So you did mention Stevie Johnson.
Mhm.
2008. I think that was Randall's first year. But that 2007 team for Kentucky was really beloved. They beat
Extremely good.
LSU, beat Louisville. They had some dogs at the wide receiver room: Dickie Lyons Jr., Stevie Johnson, Keenan Burton, Tammy at tight end. What was it like following in those footsteps, and was there a certain kind of pressure that you guys felt to follow up after them?
It wasn't any pressure at all. Honestly, they were extremely helpful. They went above and beyond. I remember me and Randall, we wanted to join a fraternity, and they were just picking us up every day, trying to take us over here, telling us what we should do, telling us what we shouldn't do, and things like that. Football wise, they were, I mean, I know I would for sure get a phone call or a text either the day before or the day of. And they'll just ask me, where's my mind at? How am I approaching the game? Just being around those guys, it made it comfortable. It made it easy for us to go out there and just play. And being that I'm all the way from California and coming over here to Kentucky, I didn't understand the traditions and the rivalries that we had, and it just kind of just grew on me as time went on. And now it's just it's just a love for the game. And I still talk to these guys. I haven't talked to Stevie Johnson in a minute. I don't know where he went. He's just out doing his thing, but I see people still talking about him, so I know he's still doing something good with his life. And Keenan Burton, I talk to him every now and then. And Tammy, I haven't talked to him in a minute, but another good friend that I talk to even now to this day is Tim Couch. We have conversations of checking up on each other's kids and our well-being. And it was just an amazing time to to go to Kentucky and play at the highest level against some of the top teams in the world.
Now, do players, Kentucky football is in a completely different space than it was when you guys played. Are there still players from back when you played, Randall played, Steve and all them? Are they still reaching out to players today? Are they still within the program, or where it's been a minute, it's kind of separated? But is the thumbprint still there?
No, actually, absolutely, it's still there. I even still talk to people when I can. The last person I was able to really get my hands on and talk to and actually work out with was Stefan. He was a guy who came out here. He was actually working out with Calhoun, Coach Calhoun, who's a receiver coach and a quarterback coach for the for players in the NFL. And it was me and Keenan Allen. We were out there working out, and he came out there and he was throwing the ball, and I glimpsed at him like, okay, I've seen him before. I just couldn't put a name to it. And then once he entered, we introduced ourselves. I'm like, okay, it's all love from here. We're both Wildcats. I got you, bro. I am not gonna drop no passes today.
Now, you said Stefan. Did you mean Steven Johnson?
I mean Steven.
Okay.
Yeah. My bad.
That's all good. Just wanted to clear that up because I didn't remember the time when Stephon Diggs played for Kentucky, but man, we could have used him for some years. You mentioned you are from California. You even played JUCO in Cali. Ended up playing your NFL ball on the West Coast. So, What was the transition like going from the West Coast to Kentucky, and what was the appeal to come to Lexington after spending all that time out in the West?
Man, that's a good question. I can actually start off with, what was the deciding factor? So coming out of junior college, I was the number one ranked wide receiver. I had teams from all over the place: Oregon, SC, UCLA, Florida, Alabama, LSU, like actual, substantial universities that you would love to be a part of and grow with. I had bad grades. Is basically what got down to it. And I was trying to do the catch-up game and trying to catch up and not miss the train with all these great universities is trying to, come after me. And, sure enough, one by one, they just kept falling and falling and falling. It went from them calling me every other day to now let me reach out to him. Let me check this. And you know what I'm saying? It diminished my confidence in myself, honestly, because I'm just thinking about football. I'm not thinking about grades or anything. I'm just thinking about football. Like, is there somebody out there better than me? That's what I'm starting to think. And, it just, one guy, I'm not going to divulge his name, but he was a coach at Oklahoma at one point. He basically was just telling me, he was like, yeah, man, it's just your grades. Like, people are scared of you because you don't have the grades to move on. And so, once I heard that, I went straight to lockdown mode, and I pulled everything back up. But by that time that I had everything back up, which was the end of the school year, everybody pretty much had their set rosters on who they wanted to pick up and all of this. And so I'm like, basically, asked out. So I'm like, I'm walking through the hallways trying to get to class, and I walk right past my my AD, and he just asked me a question like, what have you picked a school to go to? And I'm like, no, honestly, I don't have any school to go to. Long story short, he makes a phone call to Steve Ordermeyer. Steve Ordermeyer and them talk. I guess they're best friends. From what I found out is that they're best friends. And at that time, Steve Ordermeyer was the tight end / special teams coach. I get a phone call like 30 minutes after he had called them and sent over my film and stuff. 30 minutes back, I get a phone call. They're talking about, yeah, they're gonna offer you a scholarship right now. And I'm like, wait, for real? Like, right now? All right, let's do it. I'll sign it right now. I don't need to visit. I don't need to do none of that. I'm ready to get up out of here and go play some football in the SEC, And then my favorite color is blue. And I'm like, we wear blue. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is where I need to be. Didn't even look at the roster, nothing. But so that happened. And now I'm sitting up here in a situation where there's, I'm actually doing good now in school. And, the teams that were initially attracted to me are now coming back because I guess they're, things wasn't falling in play to what they were looking for out there. And so I was getting phone calls, emails, and people sending stuff to my house. And I'm like, I can't do it. Like, Kentucky stuck with me through the hard time, and I'm a big person with loyalty. So I just felt like it was a loyalty thing just for me to stick with Kentucky, even though I could have easily just been like, all right, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm going to LSU, which is my dream school. That was my dream school, to go to LSU. So, like I said, loyalty plays a big part of mine, and I just wanted to stick with that, and that's where I ended up, and that's how I ended up at Kentucky.
So looking back on it, it sounds like it wasn't your first choice, but it sounds like it worked out well, for everybody in the end. And that kind of gets me to my next point. You said you were getting looked at by Alabama, Florida, LSU. And what's crazy about that is, a lot of people say that we are currently in the golden age of wide receivers in SEC football. But you guys had a good case too. I mean, looking at the leaderboard for receiving yards when you played in your last year, it's guys like Alshon Jeffrey at South Carolina, Julio Jones at Alabama, Randall was up there, and you came at 6 on the list with receiving yards, and you were ahead of AJ Green.
Mm-hmm.
And you were number 1 on the leaderboard on receiving touchdowns as well. So what was it like to play in the SEC at the position, that was just really popping off? And did you feel like you had to prove, like, hey, like, I belong here, like, I'm just as good as you guys?
Honestly, no. Like I said, I got to the point where it was just me and my closest friend, DeQuinn Evans. We both came from the same junior college, and we were just staying together, and we just kept beating it in our head like, we're not worried about anybody. DeQuinn, his level of success compared to mine was just ahead of mine. So, he got to see a little bit more things than I got to see. So it wasn't nothing where I was like, yeah, I'm competing. No, I was thinking like, no, I'm trying to get drafted. Like, I'm trying to hurry up and get this over with so I can go to the NFL and get drafted and play on a team and all of that. So that's where my head was. But there was a time where I did feel like I had to step up and put my name on the map was against Georgia. We were competing. They were comparing AJ Green to me. We both wore number 8. They were coming to our house. I can remember like it was yesterday. I wake up in the morning. I'm driving to class at the Whitehall, and I see this huge billboard of a number 8 in clear. I mean, in blue color that says "Ours is better." And I'm like, whoa, like this is real. You know, I've never thought I would have ever seen anything like that in my life. But boom, you got pictures, you got posters, everything is going up. And I'm like, okay, boom, we get to the game. I go outside on a Jumbotron. They have a blue 8, a red 8 with the slash in between it. And I'm just like, this is like something really serious. I'm going outside, I'm warming up. Everybody's coming to talk to me. They're like, oh, there he goes right there. There he goes. My side is pointing over there to AJ Green. His side is over there pointing to us. And I'm like, I've never, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is so surreal. Like, I kind of have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of have to do good out here, guys. Like, you've been pumping it up. And I mean, I started off a little shaky in the game, but after a while, I just calmed myself down and I just started playing, and I ended up having a good game. It wasn't the best game of my career, but it was definitely a good one for sure.
You mentioned that wasn't your best game of your career, but undoubtedly, you know, your best game was at home against South Carolina. I know
Absolutely.
a lot of people remember Mike Hartline laying on the ground and, you know, pumping the fist, Randall Cobb last touchdown. But, you know, you set, I think it was the 4th most receiving yards in a game for a Kentucky Wildcat. I think it was, don't quote, 177 yards against them. They were top 10 in the country. You know, Alshon Jeffrey was playing for them. Did you feel that sort of same thing going into that? Or was that just like a loose, like, hey, like we can beat these dudes. We can beat Steve Spurrier and the Gamecocks?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We were thinking about that. It's, you know, it's, I don't want it to come off as like I was just oblivious to what was going on, but like I said, I was just so focused in me and keeping myself intact and doing the best that I can do, that I wasn't really worrying about who we were going up against or who was on the team. Like, I wasn't looking up nobody's stats, trying to figure out who was on the team. So that being said, I didn't even know who Alshon Jeffrey was until we were trying to get drafted. I'm like, damn, where did he come from? Like, I don't remember him. But that's I don't want that to be a shot to Alshon. He's a great player for sure, and he was a great player in college as well. But I just didn't know. The only thing I knew about was, you know, Steve Spurrier saying that, you know, Chris Matthews is pretty good over there as well. We have to watch out for him, and that was it. Like, I didn't worry about anything else. I just knew that this team was ranked, and we had them. We were playing against them on our field, so we had to beat them. That was the only thing that was ever going through my mind when it came to came to teams or even rivalries with, you know, Louisville or Tennessee.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because you know, if you can get Steve Spurrier bragging about you, like you've done something. Like, that dude is very close to the vest when it comes to, you know, bragging opponents, this, that, and the third. And in fairness, you know, Alshon Jeffrey was good, but, you know, he was like a quiet good. And like, I think it was Marcus Lattimore. I think he was still,
Yeah.
I mean, that dude was a stud. So, I mean, you know, I can understand that approach. I don't think that's any shade at all. But, you know, like you said, you were focused on doing you and your future, so much so that you wanted to get to the next level. After college, you know, it didn't happen for you immediately. And then, you know, 4 years goes by and you get a call from the Seahawks. What was that process like? And how did that go? Like, what was the call like? And when did you know that you were about to be a part of Seattle?
It was a tricky time. I'm going to be quite honest here. I didn't think I was even gonna make it out there. I was just coming off of an injury in Canada the year before, where I had just messed up my tailbone in the beginning of the year, and then I turned around, played 2 games, and I came back, and I ended up getting turf toe that put me out for the rest of the year. So I'm sitting up here, and I'm like, damn, like I gotta come back and do this again and try again and try to get back in the NFL. But right when the season was over with, my agent was like, "Have you been working out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been working out, but I don't know. My toe still hurts." And my first workout was Kansas City. I went out there and worked out with them. Total shit show. It was not good at all for me. I was just still like trying to, grasp the concept of having a turf toe and what I was able to do in my limitations. So that wasn't bad. I was already, so that was, strike one. I was already discouraged. Then I kind of got a boost of confidence because I was supposed to go to Green Bay next and work out with them. But then Seattle called. I honestly, like 3-4 days before I was supposed to go, my flight was already booked to go to Green Bay, but they had called a couple days before. It was like, "We want you to come over here, come work out with us real quick before you go over there." And I'm like, all right, whatever. I go out there. It's freezing in the VMAC, like ridiculously freezing. I had to stretch for like almost an hour just to be warm, to feel like I was ready to run. I go out there, and that wasn't even great. I still didn't have the explosion that I really wanted, be able to cut on a dime like I used to. All that played into played in the factor of me thinking like, yeah, this is over with. I'm probably not even going to go to Green Bay and waste their time. And then sure enough, after the workout ended, I had a okay workout. I didn't drop a ball, but it just didn't look right to me. It felt like they was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, it was kind of cold, but I could do it again. Like I'll do this workout over again. And I remember Pete Carroll was like, it's all good. It's all good. Don't even worry about it, man. I got you. And I'm like, all right, cool. Boom. That goes by. I want to say like a week goes by. Next thing you know, my agent calls me. He was like, you sitting down, big fella? And I'm like, yeah, like what's going on? He's like, yeah, well, you're going to he's like, you're going to the Seahawks. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I'm like, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, oh, it's about to be Super Bowl time. I'm about to get a Super Bowl ring. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking like, I'm just not totally oblivious to what's going on and, how the structure works. But I'm just thinking, I'm telling everybody, all my friends, like, yeah, I'm about to get the Super Bowl if they win. I'm about to get a ring if they win and all this. And I go down, I dress up in a suit and everything. I'm ready to sign this contract. The day I flew in and walked in to sign my contract was the day they were actually leaving to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm like, oh, yep, I made the bus. I can't wait. Signed it. I'm thinking that I'm about to get on the bus. And they're like, all right, well, we'll take you back to the hotel. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I thought I was going with y'all. I'm a Seahawk now.
Yeah, I don't mean to butt in, but I just want to be sure. This is because they went back to back. This is ahead of their Super Bowl against the Broncos, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. The one that they won.
All right, I just wanted to be sure about that before a later discussion. So,
but yeah, it was just it was just a great moment. Period. Whether I was able to go or not, it was just a great moment, knowing that I had a chance to get back in the NFL and get on a team. And that was from there. That was when my confidence shot right back up, and I had to go back out and really push myself to get my toe back to where it if not perfect, at least close to it. And that's where I went on from there.
So yeah, that gets me to another question I had. In the Super Bowl, which is one of the reasons why we have you on here, because it is Super Bowl week. Al Michaels famously says after your first catch in the Super Bowl, he was at Foot Locker a few weeks ago, and now he signed with Seattle. Is that a true story? Were you actually like at Foot Locker when they gave you the call?
No, I was not at Foot Locker. It was kind of like one of those You remember the telephone game that we used to play when we were kids, where you tell somebody one thing and then it has to travel around the whole class, and then you hear what they saying at the end? That's kind of what it was. I remember I was with the team, and then they released me for like a solid month, where I just wasn't. I wasn't doing anything. My pops is an LAPD officer, and so he was all the way like, we need to go get a job, go go make some money, get out the house. And I'm like, okay. I go get a security job in Compton, California, where I'm just, watching over houses and stuff like that. And I applied for, jobs that I would much rather, wanted to do. Like, I love shoes. I want to work with, a shoe company. That's what I was thinking. And I had just applied for them the week that I had got the phone call. So I come back, and Doug and Jermaine and all of them were asking me like, "Whoa, bro, what was you doing out there?" And I was like, "Well, I was, trying to get a job at Foot Locker, trying to get some extra shoes." And he was like, everybody just started laughing and stuff like that. Like, and then next thing you know, it comes out that I actually was working there. But I'm not gonna lie to you, it worked in my favor, because then I started getting endorsements from YMCA, Foot Locker, and I'm traveling all the way over here just for premieres and stuff like that. So I'm like, hey, if that's what y'all want the story to be, I'll ride with it.
It sounds like it worked out. And so, since we are talking about your stint with Seattle before the Super Bowl, in which you were just an absolute star, you mentioned that you had a workout with Seattle. You were supposed to go to Green Bay 3 or 4 days later. Did you blow off that workout with Green Bay, or did it just like not work out, or Seattle gave you the call beforehand?
It just never it never manifested, because my agent, he told me, I was right after the workout with Seattle, we were having a conversation, and I was like, so am I still going to Green Bay? And he was like, yeah, well, let me call them and get some more information on, see if we can get you out there next week. And I'm like, okay, bet. So the following week comes up, where I'm supposed to be leaving on that Monday, the workout was on Tuesday. I get the phone call, and they're saying like, yeah, we want you up here. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go to, Seattle.
See, so I had to ask that, because there's an elephant in the room I need to address, because life comes full circle. I am a diehard Green Bay Packer fan. So we get to the 2015 NFC Championship. I believe you were on special teams. You were on special teams. Obviously, the onside kick, you recover the ball. What went into that? What put you in the position to do that, and what was your mindset before the kick even happened?
Yeah, well, the mindset that I had, I was scared. This is a big game
in Seattle, nonetheless.
You know what I'm saying? This is a big game, and we don't practice full speed. We don't practice this special team stuff full speed. And our motto was, practice like a champion. So when the championship comes, you're not scared. You're ready for it. And so I was scared, because we didn't practice like champions. We literally walked through these onside kicks all the time. You know what I'm saying? Ryan would kick it, it'll pop up. Cam will go over there and catch the ball out of nowhere and keep running, and everybody follows them into the end zone. That was the whole mindset. We get out there, and you can, if you watch the film, like, I even put my hand down late. I was the last person to get down.
I've watched it a lot of times.
Like, I was nervous. And then, of course, Brandon Bostic, I just think, I think that was God's way of helping me out, because he was my task. So I had to be his task as well. So me thinking about it, it's like, okay, I was the last person to get down. He probably was messed up from there, thinking I was gonna move around or something. He had his eyes on somebody else, or he just thought he was free. Ball gets kicked, and sure enough, he didn't look at me not one time. He just looks up at the ball and jumps for it. So I'm like, okay, well, the next thing that is going through my mind is, I need to hit the shit out of him so I can make a name for myself on special teams. Like, that's what I was thinking. Sure enough, it just bounces right off of his shoulder. Boop. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold up. Switched it up again. Like, let me just jump for this ball then. Sure enough, I jump, catch the ball, and I'm thinking like, there's nobody in front of me. I can just keep running and go. But I get, of course, I get tackled by Jordy Nelson and everybody else. But it was just a crazy experience to go from scared to like extremely happy. And and it all is a part of just trusting the process, honestly. I remember walking up to Cam after no, actually it was right before the third quarter hit. It was coming out of halftime, and I walked up to him and I was like, Cam, I got you, bro. I got your back. And he looked at me like one of those looks like, like I know that I don't play much on this team. All I do is do special teams. But he looked at me and was like one of those like confused faces. And then you seen him like, I got you, bro. Puts his helmet on and he walks off. And then that happens. The onside kick happens. And he comes back to me on the sideline. And he was like, bro, I'm going to forever cherish this. I'm going to forever cherish you. You told me you had my back and you really went out there and had my back. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm in here.
Yeah. So you definitely made a name for yourself. I mean, you will forever be, etched in NFL history as the NFC Championship hero. And there's a lot of questions to even ask about that. First and foremost, you talked about Cam Chancellor. And you said you practiced a lot on special teams. Did you ever line up at wide receiver against those guys during practice? I mean, the LOB was some dudes, Richard Sherman, Byron Maxwell, Earl Thomas, and Cam, of course. Did you ever line up against them? And if you did, who was the best trash talker? And, how did you respond to any of that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Practice was practice. Go out there and you run your plays and see if you can beat see if you can beat the defense. And that was at the time where I was like, I was still a nobody, but I've been there some time and I'm trying to work my way in. It's not like I'm not good. So if I wasn't good, I wouldn't even be on this field. So it was more so of like a second team and then first team. And I was trying so hard to crack that first team. My whole thought process of I know I made it is if I can walk out the tunnel as a starter. That's what I was thinking about. Like, oh, I gotta be able to walk out of the tunnel. And so practice. We used to go at it all the time. Me and Sharon probably went at it the most. It was just so it wasn't by choice. It just naturally happened that way. And we just, he just made me better and vice versa. Like we used to do one-on-ones every day. And me and Sherm would probably go at least 5 times out of the whole, one-on-one course, where it's 6 of us, 6, 7 other receivers out there, but me and Sherm probably went 5 times, where everybody else went like 2 or 3 times. And but the one person that talked the most shit was Byron Maxwell. Like, I used to be like, bro, you are so stiff. I don't understand. How are you out here playing? But he like just had amazing technique and he was so strong where it was like, if he catches you, it's over with. Like, you're not going to get off on him. So that was a challenge in itself because, I wasn't the biggest, I was the biggest, but like strength wise, I wasn't the strongest or the fastest. So it was a competition right there of just trying to figure out other ways for me to beat this guy.
I mean, they obviously made you better. And before we move on to your Super Bowl performance, I do got to ask, selfishly, as a Kentucky fan, as a Packers fan, after that NFC Championship, did you text Randall after the game and be like, hey, I did this, you guys are going home. Was it any of that?
Absolutely, I did. Absolutely. I texted him right after the game, like, hey, bro, good game, man. And he didn't respond back to me till the next day. Like, yeah, I felt the energy in the air, but we're all good. It was all good. He was happy for me for sure. He expressed that, letting me know that I did a great job.
That's awesome. So, and I remember when that happened too, I'm obviously just as mad, I'm like, what? Like, how do we not get this? And then I hear like Chris Matthews, unsigned free agent from, and I was like, whoa, where'd he come from? So that was just, it was a very conflicting moment for me personally. But it worked out well for you. And that obviously got you to Super Bowl 49. In my opinion, the best Super Bowl of my lifetime. And you were just the star. I mean, one of the leading receivers, 4 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown. And what's crazy is those were your first catches in the NFL. What was the 2 weeks of practice leading up to that in preparation that was able to get you in that role for the Super Bowl?
Well, let me just give you a little bit of backstory on just how I approached the game, period. For one, I just think that I'm the best. I was the best person to ever touch the field. Like, I just felt like I was a pure right receiver. My pops is, ingrained that into my head. I would go out and practice in the summertime and catch balls with no gloves on. Like, those are things that I wanted to make sure I can feel the ball, feel how hard it is or how soft it is, the braille on it. I want to feel everything. And so my confidence in just playing was at an all-time high. You couldn't tell me anything different. Even if I had a bad day, I would still come back out the next day like I'm still the best wide receiver you guys have ever seen. So with that, going into the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, they were good. They were good practices. It wasn't like practice during the regular season, because, obviously this is Super Bowl. We don't want to go as hard because we don't want to hurt anybody, but, we're still out here competing. We were just out there playing around. That's what it felt like to me. Got to meet Snoop Dogg and everybody. And it was just a great atmosphere. And honestly, even after that onside play, I didn't think it was going to, propel me into the position of being able to play on offense. I was still the guy in the back, in the back of the line. Maybe not all the way back there, but I'm, close to it. You know what I'm saying? So leading up to those weeks, I was just running around, honestly, just running around. I was enjoying the festivities. I was going to the restaurant over here and meeting up with, I remember I met Jameis Winston at the Super Bowl. We were just sitting up there eating and chopping it up and, just having a good time. Like, my mind really wasn't in like playing the actual game. It was just special teams, and I already felt like I was good at it. John Snyder, he helped me understand the special teams role. Another coach, Chad, I forgot his last name, but I think he's still on the team right now as a running back coach, I think. At the time, he was a special teams assistant. That guy, he sat me down. We sat down with each other day in and day out, just understanding what am I looking at when I'm running down this field on kickoff? Who am I looking at? How do I know which way they're going? Things like that. Like, those were the little things that I understood, and I just took it upon myself when the Super Bowl came to just stay on that, stay in my room, watch this, and then, once I'm done with this, go out and have fun, do your thing. And that's what I did. And so my number one thought process going into the Super Bowl was, I know we're going to kick off first because that's just our motto, and put the defense on the line so we can hit them in the mouth. So I'm thinking if that's our motto, then I need to be to set myself apart, I need to be the first person down the field, and I need to make a play, either a big hit or I need to force a fumble and have the ball turned over the other way. That's my thought process the whole time. So we get out there, we finally get out there to the Super Bowl, and by now we know now it was just a totally different feeling. Like my mode was still my mode was still go get the hit, go get the fumble, go do this. And I remember Ricardo Lockett, great friend of mine. I remember the day before we were walking to the bus to go to practice, and he had just, walked up to me. He was like, "Hey, we're going to be the X factors in these games. Like, everybody's going to be looking at Doug and Jermaine because those are only two people we throw the ball to." He was like, we're probably going to get the most balls out of everybody in this game. And I'm like, nah, bro, like, not me, maybe you, but not me. They don't throw me the ball. Like, I'm in practice, they don't throw me the ball. So I'm just like, I agreed with him, but it was more of like a reserved,
it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got you. Go ahead. Let's do this. And sure enough, the first pass, that was me and Ricardo's, that was our route. Honestly, like the 2 weeks that we practiced that pass, that one play, it was never designed to go deep. Every time. And I remember, and I mean, Lockett is fast. He would blow past Sherm, Earl, Cam, all the DBs would blow right past him. Boom, gone. And Russ would look, and then he'll throw it underneath. Throw the slant. And we completed it every time. Throw the slant. Complete. So I'm just thinking like, okay, yeah, whatever. That's just one play, whatever it is. Get into the game. Ricardo just finished running. I think he ran a dig route and caught the ball over the middle, got hit, and he's coming back to the sideline. I'm like, boy, I'm tired. Come, go get me. And I'm like, all right, man, I got you. And I remember I ran out there and I heard Pete Carroll's voice. He said, Chris. And I'm like, yeah. He was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, he told me to go in, He looked at Lockett, and Lockett was like, yeah, coach, I'm tired. And he's like, all right, go. Boom, call the play. And I'm like, all right, cool. Just run the ball. I mean, just run them off. Just run the play and run them off. And sure enough, like I said, I wasn't looking for the ball. I honestly, looking at the play, I probably could have caught it and still kept running if I had, just adjusted my body a different way. But it was just so routine in my mind that we never threw this ball, like just run out, just get out the way. It caught me off guard. And so when I seen the ball and I seen the ball in the air, I just wanted to focus on it. I was like, well, shit, if he's throwing me the ball, I got to focus. Lights are getting in my eyes now. And I'm like, damn, like I'm about to drop the ball on live TV. But, just was able to make a great play.
So before we had technical difficulties, you were talking about your first catch, and I remember it was like you jumped, twisted, spun in the air, caught it, fell down 44 yards, and at that point, I think that was in the second quarter. You guys hadn't scored a point yet, and it was looking kind of stagnant for you guys. What did that play do for the Seahawks offense, and how did that help you guys get going? And you already said you played at a supreme confidence. What did that do for your confidence the rest of the game as well?
Well, for me, it was honestly, I didn't think about anything like that. For me, when I play the game and I'm inside and I'm in my mode, everything goes in one ear and out the other. I was always told as a wide receiver, especially, if you're dropping the ball, just get the play out of your head, focus on the next play. So that's really, where my head was throughout the game is, okay, even if I did good or bad, I got to move on to the next play. I even remember after the touchdown, everybody came to me right after this, right before the halftime hit, and we're sitting on the sideline. And I remember Doug, Jermaine, Marshawn, who else? Bruce Irvin, all these guys came over there. It was like, bro, he was like, you having a hell of a game. Like, you having a hell of a game, man. You need to kick your feet up and get ready to ask for a new contract. I'm like, nah, bro, don't worry about that right now. Get out of my head. First off, get out of my head, and let's focus on winning this game first, because I'm a competitor. I want to win. I want this ring, and to top it off, it's gonna be a ring against Tom Brady. Like, we can stop his legacy right now. That's where my mind was. But yeah, man, it was a great time. I feel like, it definitely changed the world for me and my family. Ultimately, I didn't have the career that I dreamt of, but nonetheless, I've made great memories, long lasting friendships, and just amazing times.
Well, that's what I was gonna. Thank you for answering that, because I was gonna ask you how that game did changing your life. But before we move on from the Super Bowl, there was another play I wanted to talk about. It's the end of, basically, Tom Brady had just finished up a 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
There's 30 seconds left to go in the first half. I think Russell scrambles for a few yards. One way or another, you guys get into field goal territory with 6 seconds left. Most people kick the field goal, go into half down by 4, because the Patriots were up 14-7 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you catch the ball right before halftime to score the touchdown, tie it up at half. Was that play call meant for you? Like, was Pete just like, hey, throw it up to Chris and just see what happens? Or was it just absolutely like it was the other one? It was just random.
No, it was exactly what you said. It was just, hey, he has a hot hand. Let's just throw it up. That's literally what he said. He said, he has a hot hand. Let's just throw it up. And I remember he was like, Chris, I'm, like a kid in the candy store. I'm sitting in the back, but, I'm the tallest one. So I'm sitting like this, like, what's going on? Hey, coach. Hey, you need me? He was like, put his arm around me, which, now, before that was a fine, we between us receivers, if you ever get caught on camera with, coach with his arm around you, it's $1,000 fine. So I was already like nervous to even be seen with his arm around me, but he put his arm around me like he was my pops and was like, hey, we're just gonna throw you the ball up, man, and you go up there and do what you do, catch the ball. You believe in it? I was like, yeah. So, all right, man, let's go. Boom, goes out there. And I'm thinking like, okay, we're inside the red zone. Patriots, they love man-to-man, probably gonna get pressed. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm like, for sure, the ball is coming to me. That's the mindset that I had, was like, okay, ball is coming to me. And then we get out, and then they're off by 10 yards. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Now I'm not going to get the ball. Like, play's not designed for me to try to, jump over this dude. But sure enough, I was, he didn't change the play. I'm thinking that we were going to change it to a slant or something. He doesn't change the play. He just hikes the ball, drops back, throws the ball. And I'm like, oh, well, all right, let's go for it. And he threw it perfectly. Honestly, it was a perfect pass that was high enough for me to jump, strong enough for it to get there before a defender could even have a chance to, make a play.
So, you caught that ball before halftime. And then, that was right when Twitter was about to be like Twitter as we know it today, like rapid memes, everyone's watching the big game, and Big Blue Nation Twitter is really intense, and they're all just like, Chris Matthews touchdown into the half, and like people are comparing you to like Jerry Rice and this and that. Did you see all that after the game, and what was your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I didn't see all that. I stayed away from Twitter, to be honest with you, because it was, when I was in college, I wasn't the most politically correct person when I was on Twitter back in those days, and
None of us were
uh,
back in those days. None of
yeah. And I remember Joker Phillips. He had brought me. He took me out of practice one day, standing next to one of the Indianapolis Colts scouts, and he was like, so Chris, tell me about this. Pulls out a piece of paper about this long. Yeah, tell me about these. And I'm looking at him like, damn, these are my tweets. Like, where'd you get these from? Like, I didn't even know you could put these stuff on paper, And that right there just kind of like, of course, at that time I was trying to get drafted, and he was like, you got to stay off of Twitter and all this stuff. So at that time, when that Super Bowl stuff happened, I wasn't on Twitter like that. I didn't pay attention to nothing like that. And it started to hit that off season, when everything was just going crazy and things was going all over the place, newsletters and TV stations and stuff like that. That's when I caught a glimpse of what people were saying about me and how good the game was and stuff like that. So I caught a bit of it at the end, the tail end of it, but no, I didn't catch all the commotion and stuff right after it.
Yeah. So a couple of quick hitters about the Super Bowl. Obviously, everyone remembers Malcolm Butler at the goal line, picks it off, seals it for the Patriots. What was your thought process when you saw that happening? Because I know we all saw Richard Sherman. It just looked like he had witnessed a car wreck. What was your thought process when he ended up jumping that ball and sealing it?
Confused, frustrated, hopeful, because I still was like, well, it's our defense. We might end up doing something and getting it right back. That's what I was thinking. It was, yeah, I think those are just the main thoughts that were going through my head. After that play had hit, it was just a lot of stuff that was going on, and that's once that happened, and then the fight broke out, and then people were just walking off the field, and I was like, that's when it set in to like, damn, we done lost this damn game. Like, how do we do this?
Did it ever cross your mind that if Malcolm Butler doesn't intercept that pass, that you are possibly Super Bowl MVP?
Mm-mm. I didn't think of that at all. I mean, like I said, I was hearing rumblings amongst the team. A couple of the personnel that we had on the sideline were saying the same thing, but like I said, my head was everything was in one ear and out the other. Like, I don't care. Like, we need a win. I need this ring on my finger, and then after that, then cool, we can talk about everything. But that's not where my head was at that time.
Well, that brings me back to something I skipped over because we had the technical difficulties. They're talking about contracts at halftime of the Super Bowl. Is that something that just goes on in the NFL, or these guys just, they're in the biggest game of their lives? Granted, these dudes you're playing with did just win a ring a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Was that their, like, most NFL players' thought process during a game like that? Like, oh, what can I do for this contract? Or, I'm sure a lot of them are like driven competitors, but did that come off kind of shocking to you that they were talking about that during the Super Bowl?
It did come off shocking it did come off shocking about that, but as to answer if everybody thinks like that, I would say no, to an extent. I mean, we all play this game. We all know where, how much you could potentially make and how it could change your life and things like that. Like, all that is in the back of our head, but I wouldn't say that that's all we think about, when we're on the field, and, just because somebody makes a great play or they do this or they do that, like, no. And especially our team. I feel like our team, we preach brotherhood, with, my years with Seattle, and I'm pretty sure they still do to this day. That's one of Pete Carroll's core values, is brotherhood. But it just, like, honestly, out of every team that I've ever played on, starting from when I was a little kid all the way up to now, honestly, that was probably the closest I've ever been with a team. Maybe it could, throughout the years, maybe it was like my position group or a couple players here and there. But that was one time where we all felt like whether you like somebody or not, like that's my brother. Let's stick together. Let's stay close. Let's believe in each other. Let's encourage each other. And we really felt like that, and I think it worked perfectly because they had just won a Super Bowl, so they already know the recipe to winning. So, with that being said, if that's what they're preaching about brotherhood and all this, then let me follow suit and do the same thing. And I was just trying to, do my part, my small part on this team to help win the Super Bowl.
Well, that's great. You mentioned brotherhood, which gets me to my next point. What was the mood like in the locker room? And then that was such a deflating loss. The mood in the locker room. Did anyone bring up the fact that Marshawn didn't run the ball? Did the Seahawks as a collective agree with the decision to throw the ball? Obviously, if it works, everyone's Pete Carroll's a genius. That's a given. Um, but just what was the mood like in the moment with those guys, the finality of it all after such a deflating loss?
It was a lot of cussing. I can say that it was a lot of cussing. I don't want to put no names out there or divulge any more stories after that because honestly, that was a hard time um, for all of us, but especially for players who were just right there at the threshold of like this is probably my last go around, or honestly for a lot of us to ever get back to the Super Bowl. I've never been back to the Super Bowl, so um, it was a lot. It was a lot of emotions going on, but like I said, yeah, it was a lot of cussing and a lot of arguing and things like that. But overall, it was I mean, I feel like what a couple days afterwards, people were still, we were all back in Seattle, working out together, hanging out and chilling and stuff. So it was bad, but it wasn't nothing that broke us apart.
Could you give us an insight of what Marshawn was saying after the game, or is
I didn't even. Marshawn was like like I said, what I realized that this game was over with. Marshawn had already walked off the field. He was already gone. So by the time I was able to maneuver around everybody and get to the tunnel and get to my locker room, Marshawn was already dressed and ready to go. So when we got in there, Pete said a word or two. And then it started getting rowdy, and then it was just like, all right, let's go. And then everybody left. So it wasn't really too much um, talking going on. Honestly, it was just well, not talking, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't no conversations being had or anything like that. It was just a lot of yelling and cussing and mad and frustration, and it just left. Everybody left.
all right? Well, to end on a much happier note, we're gonna do a couple of quick hitters, and I'll let you get out of here. So 7-on-7 drill. You've got yourself, Randall, Alshon Jeffrey, AJ Green, all the dudes from your era. They're going up against Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. Who's winning that game?
Oh, us. We are for sure. There's nobody out there that was doing the things that we were doing. I do remember watching ESPN in college, and they were talking about wide receiver groups, and we were in the top five, of great receiving groups. So I just feel like there was nobody out there that was ready to check us. Even I'm talking about uh, Stephon Gilmore, Eric Berry, all these great people that end up making a great name for themselves in the NFL and so much more. But we didn't fear anybody. We didn't worry about anybody. It was just more of like a hey, this is us. This is what we do. And so if you think about that, like just collectively, like Julio Jones is a animal. You know what I'm saying? He was just a freak of nature. AJ Green was another one of those. Looking back at it, Alshon. I remember Andrew Childs from Arkansas. It was a bunch of people. It was a bunch of receivers that were out there that was just we were just good. There was nothing that could stop any of us.
See, that's actually a good point you make because it's the SEC. There's obviously great defensive backs in the SEC today, but you guys were going up against like Tyrann Mathieu, like you said, Stephon Gilmore, Eric Berry.
All these guys. I remember Joe Hayden is like a good friend to me now, still to this day. I remember I end up going off to the Browns for a training camp, and I think it was just his second year, and he was still trying to figure it out, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I remember I ran a route, he beat me to the spot and picked the ball off, but we were just understanding, where we had both came from and knowing how hard, we were working, and we just became great friends. But still to this day, I don't even play no more. He plays. I probably could still beat him. I'm just saying, I know he be out here in Encino, down the street and stuff. So, I mean, if you want to put some shoes on, we can, but it's all love though. I just don't think that nobody could beat our group.
All right, so I'm gonna make you pick again. Comparing their times at Kentucky, who you taking? Randall Cobb, Lynn Bowden.
Randall Cobb or who?
Lynn Bowden.
Oh shoot. Randall.
Randall still?
Randall is a beast. Like there is some spectacular, how like you make plays, you be like, damn, I wish somebody had seen that. You know what I'm saying? Like he did that in practice and in games. I remember he caught a one-handed slant, like Mike Hartline threw a legit dart. He throws it, he puts his arm out, catches it between two players, and then runs it in for a touchdown. Like those were just things that he did on a regular in practice, and then he actually did it in the game as well. I don't really see too many other people, I didn't really see too many other people doing stuff like that. And I've been around some great wide receivers for sure.
So do you still keep up with Kentucky football today? And if so, what do you expect out of this year's team with the new offensive coordinator? Obviously they add Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Ali. What do you expect from this Kentucky team?
I mean, I expect a very high-paced football team. I'm sorry. Very well coached, and I'm just excited. I'm just excited for Big Blue and the football team and the fans and the community and the sea of blue, just to experience this new life that's coming to Kentucky. We've been doing good, honestly. We've just been falling short in a couple games, which is, honestly, it's been pretty much, our what's been going on for the past couple years with Kentucky, where, we'll look good on paper and even on film, but it's, those little steps of getting over the hump. And honestly, I feel like, these teams that this team that we're seeing now is potentially a team that could finally get us over the hump and put us back to where we need to be.
All right. Well, that pretty much covers everything I've got for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, Super Bowl 49 star, Kentucky Wildcat star, Chris Matthews. And before I let you go, if I'm not mistaken, I know that the CFL didn't play this past season due to COVID. Are you still going to play in the CFL next season, or are you done with CFL?
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm actually just hanging it up. I haven't like publicly said it until now. But yeah, I mean, I knew that this time was going to come. Lad 2 seasons ago when I was back in the CFL, I probably hit one of the lowest times in my life. all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, just not, seeing eye to eye with with teams and stuff like that. I just didn't like how it was being used. So I kind of just, I took a step back, and it was it was what I much needed. And now it's just, watching my kids grow up. I'm not really, like, keep it honest with you, I'm not hurting for, to play or for money or stuff like that. So I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the game. To be honest with you, I know what I've done. In the work that I've put in, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with walking away from this game, and just excited to see the future, and what other people can bring. Yeah.
Super Bowl 55 prediction.
Oh, the Chiefs. We went with the Chiefs all the way.
Over Mike. Wait, is that shade from playing Brady? And
I do not like. No, I'm just playing. No, honestly, now that I'm sitting back, I have a podcast. It's called Stafford and Matthews. We talk about everything under the umbrella of the NFL every Wednesday on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube, where we're just talking about everything. And me and Joe Stafford, we get into it all the time about Tom Brady and the quarterback situation and everything. And I'm always going against him. I don't. It's not that I don't like him. It's just that it's like, damn, I wanted to end it. You know what I'm saying? And let it be something different, but just doesn't happen. And it's funny that you even say that you're a Green Bay fan, because I say this all the time, is that if I wasn't a 49ers fan, I would be a Green Bay fan. Like, I just love the tradition and how they get things done. And I 100% back Aaron Rodgers all the time. I feel like, to me, he's the best quarterback to ever touch the field. That's my stance. And of course, Joe Stafford, he's always talking about, he's a Patriots fan. So he's always like, no, but my guy has all these rings. And I'm like, I don't care. Who is the better quarterback? Like, that's what I want to know. And he'll never admit it. So I'm glad that I got a Green Bay fan that can help express this information.
Hey, I mean, if you guys need me to go to bat for Aaron Rodgers, I'll do that all day. But I'm just saying, you hurt his argument. You decided to catch the onside kick.
I know.
We were going to win that Super Bowl.
And he brought it up too. He brought it up, talking about, he was like, you were part of one of the reasons why he hasn't been to the Super Bowl. I'm like, listen, I get it, but who is the better quarterback? That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
We gotta get you on the show. We'll get you on the show, man, and let you go to bat for him, man. I need somebody on my side, because I got two people on our team that's always going against me. I need somebody on my side.
Hey, I can do it anytime, but but I'm gonna let you get off of here. Thank you so much for joining us again. I know I've said that enough. It's great to have you for Super Bowl week, and like I said, we all want to see you at Kroger Field when we all can. And it's been an absolute blast, man. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Britt. And I appreciate it. I appreciate this.
And check out Stafford and Matthews on iTunes as well. And that does it for the Chris Matthews interview. Thank you.